What if the new kid in your class wasn't awkward or shy? What if he was a killer who already picked his target? Everyone thinks he's just some weird transfer student. But by the end of today, 3 of them are getting hauled out on stretchers. His name is Rio Kangman, and the first thing he does walking into a Korean high school isn't say hello. He looks around the room and asks if anyone's got a cigarette. Dead silence. The teacher's jaw tightens because he already knows, deep down, this kid is trouble. The rest of the class just stares, half confused, half scared to laugh. Kangman doesn't care either way. He's not here to make friends, not really. He's here because this school, this class, this exact building, is step 1 of something much bigger. But nobody in that room has any idea what he actually is. Later that same day, after class lets out, Kangman watches something strange happen in the hallway. A group of delinquents is fawning over one classmate, treating him like royalty. That catches Kangman's attention fast, because power dynamics like that always mean something. The group notices him watching and asks why he's standing there all alone. Kangman spins a simple story. Just got back from overseas, doesn't know anyone, doesn't know how school works here. No friends, no connections, no clue how Korean high schoolers even act. It's exactly the kind of story that makes a delinquent crew perk up. Their leader steps closer, sizing him up, tattoo peeking out from his collar. He asks if Kangman knows a legendary fighter from Daejeon, some guy named Sungwon. It's a test, and Kangman knows it's a test, so he lies, smooth and confident, claiming they used to drink together back home. The delinquents exchange looks, then grin, pretending they buy it completely. They welcome him in, offering to be his very first friends in Korea. Kangman shakes their hands like he actually means it. But somewhere behind that easy smile, he's already calculating something else entirely. Because Rio Kangman didn't fly across the world to make friends, he flew here to end someone. After school lets out, one girl from the group catches up to him fast. Her name is Hyanan, though everyone just calls her Hyan. She wraps herself around his arm, pressing in close, asking if he's headed straight home. He tells her yes, says he's tired, nothing more to it. Hyan tilts her head and says she knows exactly how to help him relax. Kangman, for all his training, for all his discipline, is still 17. He says yes, and that single decision is about to blow up in everyone's face. That night, Hyan leads him to a motel room, all smiles, all soft lighting. She acts interested, playful, like she's genuinely into him. Then the door bursts open and the rest of the delinquents pile in, phones already recording. Turns out they already called Sungwon, and Sungwon has no idea who Kangman is. Bro got caught in 4K, dead to rights, exposed in front of everyone. They circle him, laughing, mocking, declaring he's their new personal servant starting today. Kangman just stands there, playing dumb, letting them believe he's some pushover transfer kid. One of them slaps him across the face hard for good measure, then grabs his collar and rips his shirt wide open to humiliate him further. And that's when the laughing just stops. Because underneath that uniform is a body covered in scars, old wounds, muscle no high schooler should have. This isn't a kid who got into a few fights, this is a body built by years of surviving something horrific. Before Korea, Kangman spent years training on a private island owned by Batala, one of the most dangerous contract-killing organizations on the entire planet. He survived underwater torture, live rounds fired at him for practice, instructors who'd shoot a trainee dead for being 60 seconds late. This isn't a helpless student standing in that motel room. This is a fully trained contract killer sent to Korea for one final assassination. And the second these delinquents put hands on him first, they activated his one personal rule. Anyone who strikes him first becomes a valid target, no exceptions. Kangman raises his hand, delivers a single open palm, and the guy just leaves this dimension, crumples to the floor like his skeleton forgot how to work. But Kangman still doesn't want to throw the first punch. He never does. He just waits, patient, calm, letting them give him the excuse. The moment somebody swings a fire extinguisher at his skull, he catches it barehanded, crushes the metal tank like it's an empty soda can, then grabs the guy's face and drives his head straight into the mattress. What happens next isn't really a fight, it's a lesson nobody signed up for. Another kid gets kicked clean through a bathroom sink. Their strongest fighter, a former MMA prospect with real confidence, charges in swinging. He ends up launched through a wall, body twisted like a pretzel on the pavement outside. Now you're probably wondering how a transfer student ended up demolishing an entire delinquent crew in one night. Let's rewind, just a few hours back to earlier that same day. Kangman stood at a crosswalk that morning in his brand new uniform, just staring at the country around him. He remembers being a little kid here, running errands to buy his dad strong wine and cigarettes. But that warm feeling he used to get in Korea, it's gone now, vanished somewhere. He wonders if the whole country traded its warmth for glass towers and luxury cars. It's been 10 years since he was last here, and the place feels almost futuristic to him now. Everywhere he looks, expensive cars, designer bags, luxury like it's just normal now. He wanders into a park to find the old duck statue he used to stare at as a kid. It looks bigger somehow. He wonders if they grew the duck alongside the country's rise. But the cherry blossoms lining the streets, those are exactly the same, untouched by all the development. A little kid darts past him toward his parents, fresh from visiting that same duck park. The boy asks his dad for duck soup, and his dad already made the reservation. Of course he did. Watching them hits something in Kangman, a memory. His own dad used to carry him on his shoulders right here. Back then, little Kangman called the falling cherry blossoms popcorn. His dad, gentle as ever, would always correct him, cherry blossoms, not popcorn. One time his mom suggested a family movie night, and his dad asked what he wanted to watch. Kangman, being a little kid with zero filter, described this absurd movie plot involving a stepmom stuck in a washing machine. His mother went completely silent. His dad just laughed and played along like it was the best idea ever. That warm memory gets ripped away the second his phone buzzes. Kangman is instantly annoyed that he can't even get one quiet moment to himself. He pulls the device out. It's showing his current location and marking his target. His whole expression shifts, cold focus, time to get to work. He walks toward a convenience store that supposedly sells cigarettes, sun already dipping below the skyline. Inside, the counter's empty. No answer. He heads to the cigarette aisle to grab a pack while he waits. Just as he reaches for one, a voice appears behind him asking if students are even allowed to smoke. Kangman turns, apologizing, saying he's just running an errand for his father. He flashes a strange black card, telling the man to bill it for the next 36 months. But the guy replies, almost amused, that he's actually a customer too, not the shopkeeper. Kangman shrugs it off, blaming Korean dramas for the mix-up, says the guy looked just like a shopkeeper from the shows. The man's eyebrows lift in surprise. He just got back from living overseas too. What a coincidence. Kangman plays along, wondering out loud if maybe they even work in the same line of business. He's just about to say the words contract killer when a pocket knife comes flying at his throat. The blade moves so fast it genuinely looks like the story's about to end in its very first chapter. But when the dust settles, Kangman's blocked the strike with nothing but a snack packet. The man asks flat out if Kangman came here to kill him. Kangman just smiles, commends the guy's intuition, tells him he's clearly no dullard. He reaches into the cabinet, grabs him by the throat and hurls him across the store. Tells him plainly, of course, he's here to kill him. He murdered a bunch of the organization's own operatives. The man hits the ground, but he's more shocked by something else entirely, the color of that card. Silver, gold, black, that's how Batala ranks their agents. And black cards are basically legendary. He can't believe someone this young has already earned that rank. Kangman offers a handout with a smile, thanking the old fighter for the compliment. The man asks where his weapon is, genuinely confused that Kangman would come after him unarmed. Kangman shrugs, says airport security confiscated it. The guy is stunned that a black card owner could be this sloppy about something so basic. While talking, he's already slipping a detachable blade loose from his sleeve. Rule 1 of assassination, he says, is bringing a weapon. Then he hurls the blade straight at Kangman's head. Just like before, Kangman catches it out of the air, calm as ever. Rule 2, the man continues, is surprise, and he launches straight for Kangman's neck. Kangman catches his wrist before the blade gets anywhere close. He stares straight into the man's eyes and asks him why he'd betray an organization that gave him everything. The man answers with something that sounds almost like a riddle. Tin can. Kangman glances behind him and spots a sliced open can of food sitting on the counter. The man explains it plainly. Every single day inside that organization felt like being trapped in a tin can. He yanks free and lunges again, blade aimed straight for Kangman's throat. Kangman dodges and grabs the can lid, using it as an improvised shield. The blade slices clean through the metal, leaving him holding nothing but a busted lid. Kangman teases him about the metaphor, asking if he's some kind of Shakespeare reincarnated. The man just gets more erratic, unleashing a full barrage of slashes across the dark store. Sparks and flashes of steel fill the room as Kangman blocks every single strike. Mid-fight, the man keeps philosophizing, saying obedience to Batala was just hell dressed up in a paycheck. He wanted freedom, that's the whole reason he ran. The fight gets ugly fast. He nearly lands a hit, but all he manages to slice off Kangman's tie. They exchange one final brutal clash, the man carving a line across Kangman's shoulder. Kangman answers with the can lid slicing a mark across his cheek in return. Kangman asks if he lost something, because nobody fights this desperately unless they've got nothing left to lose. The man, lid still stuck to his bleeding face, answers quietly. He lost his family. Batala killed them, he says, and behind him a framed family photo sits on the counter, untouched. He reveals something chilling. Batala tracks every agent's family, keeps constant surveillance just to make sure nobody ever runs. He charges once more, this time kicking a cloud of powder straight into Kangman's face. Vision blurred, Kangman still manages to grab him and slam him hard into the ground. The man crashes straight through that family photo, smiling as he says the price of his freedom was their lives. Kangman's genuinely stunned that the man would sacrifice his own family just to break free. He stays down, Kangman standing over him, and reveals something else. This store used to be one he visited often. The owner wasn't a stranger to him. The last time he came in, the old man looked completely exhausted. Concerned, the man suggested the shopkeeper close up early and rest for once. The shopkeeper refused, said he couldn't stop because he had a family to feed. Hearing that broke something in him. He saw the old man as a fool, sacrificing everything for people who'd never know. Kangman glances into the back room and sees the shopkeeper's body, head bashed against the wall. He's stunned, asks if the man killed him simply for what he represented. The man completely loses it, ranting that self-sacrifice for family is just pathetic, annoying, meaningless. He climbs back to his feet, convinced the old man secretly hated his own life. A strange red fog rolls through the room as he asks Kangman if he's loyal to Batala for the same reason, because he's got a family to protect too. Kangman goes completely quiet, and the man leans in, voice low, telling him family is nothing but a leash. Those words land somewhere deep. Kangman just stands there, frozen for a second. The man seizes the opening, unleashing a blitz attack that shatters the cabinet right behind him. Using the chaos as cover, he goes for Kangman's neck, mocking Dominic Toretto's whole family speech on the way in. He's sure he landed the killing blow, but when the dust settles, Kangman's gone. Something slices clean through the man's neck from behind, a straight surgical cut. Kangman had run right through him, faster than the eye could track. The man stumbles, demanding to know how he pulled it off. Kangman shows him the small blade in his hand, the exact one he caught earlier in the fight. Lesson learned, he says. Never throw your weapon carelessly. Blood pours out fast, the man's legs already failing beneath him. He crashes down, blades clattering from his hands, blood spreading across the floor. He clutches his neck desperately, trying to stop the bleeding, but it's already too late. It finally hits him. Kangman never took this fight seriously, not for 1 second. Kangman confirms it. He only wanted to know if there was actually a reason behind the betrayal. He tells the man it was never personal, just business. Gasping, the man assumes Batala sent Kangman specifically to eliminate him. But Kangman corrects him, leaning close to whisper the truth into his ear. He didn't come to Korea for him at all. The man's eyes widen. He was never more than a pit stop. Kangman admits the real target is someone far more dangerous, someone worth risking his own life to take down. He turns to leave, telling the man he's just been granted the freedom he always wanted. And an upgrade too, eternal freedom. Kangman walks out of that blood-soaked store, mission complete on his warm-up target. Decent for a warm-up, he admits, but nothing close to what's coming next. His uniform is shredded and soaked through, so he figures he needs a new one before school tomorrow. Tomorrow, he says coldly, is when the main course finally begins, contract killing exactly as promised. The next morning, he walks straight into the high school where his real mission is about to unfold. Now rewind again 1 full month earlier to a politician's mansion in the Angeles district. Kangman had gone in on a job facing down a wall of armed security with nothing but a revolver. His target is a man named Manuel Santos, surrounded by guards, cornered but not scared enough. Kangman taunts him, saying he could have just died quietly instead of stressing everybody out like this. Manuel understands exactly what it means when a professional killer walks through your door. He begs Kangman to let his wife and child go first. Kangman glances back at the terrified woman clutching her son. Manuel pleads that they know nothing about his dealings, nothing at all. Kangman takes a slow breath, thinking it over. Then surprisingly he agrees, family's free to walk. Kangman has one strict rule, never touch anyone but the target, unless they attack him first. Manuel, emboldened by that, orders his security to open fire. He mocks Kangman, saying soft thoughts like that don't belong to a real B-grade contractor. He laughs, thinking Kangman's mercy is weakness, thinking he's scared of what Batala actually is. Batala presents itself as a casino for the ultra-rich, high-stakes gambling, velvet ropes, champagne. But underneath all that glamour is a much darker business, killing contracts sold openly. And the government can't touch them, not even close. Their reach and reputation are exactly why they landed the contract to take Manuel out. Inside the casino, a blonde dealer spreads out cards for a wealthy client. Whichever card he picks decides the rank of contractor he gets, and he already knows the rules. He draws Spade A, the highest rank possible. The dealer warns him the commission fee is astronomical. He doesn't flinch. He's already brought enough treasure to cover it, and he wants the job done immediately. Back at the mansion, Kangman has already wiped out every guard and put a bullet in Manuel's head. He lights a cigarette right there in the wreckage, repeating his own rule out loud, calm as ever. Manuel's wife is still standing there, staring in horror at what's left of her family. Kangman walks past her, offers a strange kind of sympathy for her loss, and as he leaves he tells her he'll pay for his sin someday. Now back to the present, Kangman walks into a brand new classroom. Instead of a normal introduction, he asks the entire room if anyone's got a smoke. Even the teacher can feel the aura rolling off this kid, asking who exactly he thinks he is. Kangman just tells him plainly he's the transfer student. The teacher, still uneasy, urges him to introduce himself properly. Kangman does, claiming he's from Daejeon. What nobody in that room knows is that he's actually from Batala. He enrolled in high school for one reason: it's the cleanest, most natural way to reach his target. South Korea is safe, orderly, watched closely, and infiltrating a target here takes patience. Hidden inside that casual introduction is his entire real mission nobody catches on. Before he left, the blonde dealer handed him what little intel Batala actually had. Target's nationality, South Korean, current residence, Seoul. And that's it. That's genuinely all they know. Kangman was floored when he heard that. Sounded insane, but she confirmed it, dead serious. All the client gave them was the target's name. No photo, no address, nothing else. Any professional would call this mission a nightmare. Kangman just calls it interesting. He's not the type to walk away from a challenge no matter how thin the intel is. So with what little research he's managed to pull together, he heads to what should be the target's classroom. But the target isn't even at school today. While he's figuring out his next move, two students start arguing loudly nearby. A guy with a visible tattoo grabs the door and kicks the other kid straight into the wall. It's obvious right away who's running this crew, and standing beside him is a girl named Choi Hyan. She spots Kangman first, calling her group's attention over to him. The tattooed leader asks if he's alone. Kangman confirms it, no friends, and deep down he's already thinking about a backup plan. The group takes a liking to him fast, dragging him to their private smoking corner. The leader asks if he's really from Daejin, and Kangman says yes without hesitation. Then comes the real test. Does he know a guy named Lee, the supposed top dog of Daejeon? Kangman knows exactly what this is, a trap disguised as small talk. He claims he knows the guy well, says they went drinking together before Kangman even transferred out. Says the two of them got so wasted Sungwon ended up smashing a karaoke machine. Hyan seems genuinely impressed, asking if Kangman's was some kind of big deal back home. He downplays it, calling Sungwon just an acquaintance, nothing serious. The delinquent leader eats it up completely, convinced he's found a legitimately tough guy. He offers his hand, suggesting they become friends for real. Kangman shakes it, figuring these might as well be his first friends in this country. The group hangs out together well into the evening. After the last bus pulls away, leaving Kangman alone in the dark, an old memory surfaces uninvited. The night he was kidnapped and shipped off to Angeles, the night his old life ended. He wonders quietly what he'd even be right now if that night never happened. Then Hyan appears from behind, wrapping around his arm, pressing in close, asking if he's headed home. He says yes, says he's tired. She offers a tempting little suggestion: they could relax together instead. She leads him to a motel room, pushing him gently onto the soft bed. For a second, Kangman actually seems caught up in it, drawn in by how beautiful she is. She leans, asking what exactly he wants to do. Then Kangman drops something completely unexpected. He asks if this is what people call bullying. Right on cue, her friends emerge from the dark. They've been recording the whole time. The group bursts out laughing, teasing him mercilessly over how flustered he got from one touch. Even Hyan can't hold it in, asking him to rate her acting. Kangman quietly asks why they're doing this, and the leader throws the question right back at him. Because they already know he lied about Sungwon. Turns out Sungwon has a liver condition since childhood. He can't drink, never could. The leader already called and confirmed it. Sungwon has no idea who Kangman even is. Kangman slowly climbs off the bed, playing dumb while the group mocks him for how obvious the lie was. He keeps up the act, still smiling, right up until someone slapped him across the face. They declare him their new class doormat, effective immediately. One of them rips his shirt open just to add more humiliation to the pile. And once again, they're met with something that shocks them straight to the bone. Before coming to Korea, Kangman had actually rejected this mission once already. The dealer asked him why, and his answer was blunt: 1 million people in Korea share that name. Unless she wanted him to kill every single one of them, the whole mission was garbage. The real reason went deeper than that though. He was scared of what returning to Korea might stir up in him. The dealer told him not to worry, because this mission wasn't like anything he'd taken before. The reward if he pulled it off was permanent freedom from Batala. The word freedom hit him harder than any bullet ever could. It meant if he finished this, he'd never have to go back ever. This could be his very last mission, which is exactly why failure isn't an option. Back in the motel, the delinquents freeze the second they see him shirtless. Every inch of his body is scarred, bruised, built like something that never grew up normal. Kangman smiles because the guy who just slapped him already activated the rule. Now it's fair game. He raises his hand and delivers a slap that literally rearranges the guy's face before launching him across the room. His friends stand frozen, watching their comrade get demolished by a single hit. Kangman actually winces slightly, realizing he underestimated his own strength. But this was always the plan: bait them into striking first so he'd have every excuse to unload. His expression turns dark as he clenches his fist and beckons the rest of them forward. 6 years earlier, on Kamatayan, Batala's uninhabited private training island, young Kangman is drowning on purpose. Chained underwater, tethered to a tire, forced to hold his breath far past what's survivable. Back then he was just a number, trainee 55. Somehow he stays submerged for minutes at a time, way beyond what any normal person could handle. When he finally crawls out, sea life clings to his skin and he's barely conscious. He drags himself inch by inch toward the finish line. Right before he reaches it, a gun barrel presses against his skull. His trainer tells him he's exceeded the time limit by exactly 1 minute. Kangman doesn't even flinch, a shot rings out. And somehow, in the chaos, Kangman disarms the trainer, impaling his hand with the finish line flag. He points the man's own gun back at him. The trainer, impressed instead of angry, commends the kid's instinct to use his environment as a weapon. What impresses him more is that Kangman never flinched, even staring down the barrel of a gun. Kangman tells him plainly he's not stupid. The first shot's always a blank to prevent accidents, which means the rest of the chamber is loaded with real rounds. He calmly aims the weapon at his own trainer, and a shot echoes through the island, left deliberately unresolved. Back in the present, surrounded by regular school kids in a country that's genuinely safe, Kangman hesitates. This isn't the hellhole he grew up in. Killing these kids feels wrong even to him. He sighs, thinking through a different way to handle this whole mess. He bends down to grab the buttons torn off his shirt earlier. While collecting them, he's also building a justification, something that makes this look 100% self-defense. He wants it to look like they attacked him, and only him from the very start. He turns his back on them deliberately, an open invitation. One of them grabs a fire extinguisher, mocking him for worrying about his uniform when he's about to end up in a hospital bed. Asks if Kangman even has health insurance while swinging the tank at his head. Kangman catches it bare-handed, crushing the metal without breaking a sweat. The kid can't process it. He just watched a teenager crush solid steel like a paper cup. Kangman moves to the next step. Make an impression they'll never forget. He grabs the guy's face and slams him headfirst into the mattress hard enough to embed him there. The others stand there frozen, finally understanding they're dealing with something way outside their weight class. While they're still processing that, Kangman appears behind them with a simple question. Hyan and her friend flinch hard at how silently he moved. She tries the classic gaslight move, asking if he'd really lay a hand on a girl. He ignores it completely, asking instead about a missing friend who skipped school that day. He backs one delinquent into a corner, demanding to know where that kid went. The guy shakily asks why he even wants to know. Kangman just stares him down and asks if there's any good reason he shouldn't be asking. The kid bolts, screaming that he'll still get beaten up regardless of the answer. He dashes into the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind him. Kangman follows in, calmly telling him he won't be touched. Strangely, the bathroom is completely empty, no sign of him anywhere. Then the kid reappears right behind Kangman, wrapping a shower pipe around his throat. Claims it was all an elaborate act, revealing a dream to win Best Supporting Actor at a national film festival. His whole confidence collapses the second Kangman rips the pipe apart with his bare hands. Kangman turns around, calmly informs him he's actually the better actor between them, then delivers a kick that sends the kid straight into the sink, knocking him out cold. Step 3 of his plan complete, fear properly instilled. Hyan screams, grabbing the leader, begging him to grab the scooter and just run. Kangman calmly asks why they'd bother running when they could just answer his question instead. He steps closer, and Hyan spirals, screaming at the leader to move faster. The leader instead walks toward the door, bragging about being a national MMA trial prospect. Says everything was going perfectly for him until the day he crushed his own opponent by accident. To prove it, he crushes the doorknob with his bare hand before charging Kangman, thrilled at finally facing someone strong. He lunges, aiming to crush Kangman's skull the same way. Meanwhile, in the next room, another delinquent is trying something with a girl, when he's suddenly thrown through the wall. Completely crushed by Kangman's overwhelming force, this marks step 4 of the plan. Break their composure entirely, and Kangman has his reasons for pushing this far. Meanwhile, Hyan is desperately trying to escape, but the doorknob's already trashed. Suddenly Kangman appears behind her like a horror movie villain, asking exactly what she's trying to do. She freezes solid in fear, but he simply shows her a different way to open the door. This was always part of his plan: terrify first, then offer mercy. Hyan crumples to the ground, begging him to let her go. Kangman tells her calmly he never intended to hit her at all, he just needs one favor. He strokes her hair gently, telling her she's the only one who can actually help him. She asks, still terrified, if she has any real choice. He asks anyway, and she agrees. His first question is simple: where is that missing student? Meanwhile, deep in an underground bunker, a gang of thugs is celebrating a successful blackmail job. Their boss is feasting on beef, loving every second of the good life. One of the crew mentions the videos getting traction, and cops might start tracking them. The boss waves it off, confident their setup is airtight, overseas servers, encrypted app untouchable. He brags that even the FBI couldn't find his place. Right on cue, there's a knock at the door. One of the guys opens it to find a blonde-haired stranger in an oddly casual t-shirt. This is Hyansu, and his first question is blunt. Where did the video come from? Since he doesn't look like a cop, the boss asks who exactly he is. Hyansu ignores the question entirely, simply demanding they take the video down. That sets off the biggest guy in the room, who lunges at him in a rage. A gunshot cracks through the air. Blood splatters everywhere. By the time anyone reacts, the big guy's already dropped, shot straight through the head. The room panics, realizing they're up against a firearm. Hyansu calmly wipes blood from his mouth, repeating the same demand: take the video down. Then the boss notices something odd: that wasn't a real shot. Sure enough, the big guy stumbles back to his feet, completely unharmed. It's a high-powered BB gun. Just terrifying. Feeling brave now, the whole crew rushes him at once. Bad idea. They all end up on the floor, heads throbbing, completely wrecked. The boss, meanwhile, tries stuffing cash into a bag, only to realize his entire crew is down. Hyansu appears behind him, pressing the gun to his skull, demanding the video come down now. The boss caves instantly, pointing at a hard drive across the room. But he can't help asking why Hyansu's going through this much trouble. Was he hired by the victim, he asks. Hyansu snaps, revealing furiously that he was the one in the video. Because of a certain embarrassing detail that already spread across the internet, Hyansu ends up killing him too. Turns out Hyansu is exactly the missing student Kangman's been asking about, and this whole time he's been wielding nothing but a toy gun. Kangman meanwhile has an entire armory sitting quietly in his room. The next day at school, the delinquents have officially become Kangman's puppets after last night's beating. Hyan's the only one without a bruise and she asks why he wants to meet them. He tells her they need to finish the conversation from before. The mood shifts fast. He asks if something happened with their missing friend. A while back, Hyan visited a shooting gallery, chasing a creepy plush prize with a rigged, awful gun. Then Hyansu showed up, effortlessly nailing every single target while she leaned against him from behind. Her friends were floored by how naturally talented he was. They joked that the military should be scouting a shooter like him. In the end, Hyansu won her the plush toy, and she thanked him, promising to make it up to him later. Hyansu, overwhelmed by how affectionate she'd been, spent that whole night imagining what later might actually mean. Thinking back on it now, Hyan wonders out loud why Kangman even cares about someone like Hyansu. Truthfully, she'd been trying to forget he ever existed. She's talking to herself when Kangman appears out of nowhere, teasing her for mumbling. She asks why he wanted her here alone this weekend. He gently touches her face, reminding her of the favor she promised back in the motel. He pulls up his phone, showing her a list of date spots, asking her to show him around. Deep down, Hyan already suspects his whole tough guy persona is a cover for something else. Because there's no way someone beats up her entire crew and stays that calm about it. She lands on the obvious conclusion: he must like her. That's why he wants this tour. As they set off, someone hidden in the shadows snaps a photo of them together. Their first stop is a restaurant with an 80-dish tasting table. Hyan teases him for having zero taste in restaurants, calling him out for never having dated before. Kangman admits it quietly. He's never really had a friend either, so this is all new territory. Hyan notices him tense up and starts eating first to put him at ease. She teases him about picking such a fancy place, then admits the food's actually amazing. While they eat, that same hidden figure snaps another photo. Next stop, a park full of alpacas, and Kangman gets spat directly in the face by one of them. Another photo captures the two of them laughing over it. They wander through an art gallery next, marveling at what modern art has apparently become. Then it's off to a designer store where Hyan demands Kangman photograph her non-stop. He worries her phone will run out of storage from how many shots he's taking. She assures him a full terabyte's got her covered. He asks why she needs this many photos, and she jokes she's a work of art that needs preserving. The two lose track of time, having way more fun than either expected. Before parting ways, suggests one more stop. A little friendly shooting game. She leads him to the exact same booth where she first met Hyansu. The shop owner tells Kangman just 1 hit out of 10 wins him a plush toy. Kangman scoffs, figuring that's ridiculously easy. What he doesn't know is the gun's rigged to throw every shot off target. The owner boasts even a special forces operative couldn't land a single hit on this thing. Kangman fires and misses completely. Hyan teases him mercilessly, saying he'll never hit anything with a gun like that. Kangman raises the stakes, proposing a bet if he wins she owes him one more favor. The shop owner is still laughing when Kangman starts landing every single shot, effortlessly. The owner rubs his temples, half convinced he's dealing with some kind of secret assassin. Kangman hands the gun to Hyan, helping correct her stance. And of course that hidden camera captures the moment too. The grand prize turns out to be a pretty ugly, springy little plush toy. On her walk home, she wonders what favor he'll ask for next. Turns out it's simple. He wants her to post their photo together publicly on social media. Hyan hugs the plush tight, replaying the entire day in her head, trying to hide how red her face is. She's so lost in the memories she doesn't even notice reaching her own front door. Then her eyes go wide with horror. Hyansu is standing right there waiting. The plush drops from her hand as she demands to know what he's doing at her place. Hyansu grabs her by the throat, saying being in this apartment brings back memories for him too. It turns out Hyansu and the crew used to come here to drink. She'd warned them all not to misbehave, and Hyansu had promised to keep everyone in line. She'd even told him back then how reliable he seemed, maybe because he was older, more mature. He told her to just trust him. That night, everyone got completely wasted, and Hyansu took advantage of her while she was unconscious. Hyan reported him afterward, and it destroyed his life completely. Expelled from school, abandoned by his own family, and he blames her for every bit of it. Hyan doesn't back down, tells him flat out he had it coming because he's a predator. Hyansu snaps back, insisting she led him on, touched him like she meant it, promised to repay him. He claims she was practically inviting it. Then he pulls out his phone, pointing to the picture she just posted, convinced it was meant to make him jealous. Hyan's disgusted fists clenched in fury. She slaps him across the face, calling him a psychopath. He answers by firing 2 shots that barely miss her, then destroys her new plush toy for good measure. He tells her he's been preparing for this reunion since the very first day. says he's got hours of footage of himself practicing, and he'd love to show her. He shoves her against the wall, and just then, a hand grabs her from behind, pressing a handkerchief over her nose. She goes limp instantly, and the hand belongs to Kangman. He's surprised honestly that Hyansu revealed himself this quickly. Turns out Kangman hired people specifically to photograph the two of them, all designed to lure Hyansu out. The paparazzi were none other than Hyan's own delinquent friends. They're furious about being used like errand boys, but they don't have much choice after last night's beating. They can't figure out why Kangman's going to all this trouble for someone he doesn't even like. Back at Hyan's apartment, Kangman pushes the door open once she's fully unconscious. He taunts Hyansu, admitting he's honestly impressed that such a childish trap actually worked. Hyansu, furious, demands to know if Kangman's her boyfriend. Kangman fires back an even more mocking question. Does he look like her girlfriend? Hyansu whips out his gun, fires, and Kangman dodges it without even blinking. Kangman teases him for shooting without so much as a warning first. Hyansu promises once he's dead, Hyan will finally belong to him completely. He aims for Kangman's skull, but Kangman disarms him instantly. He proposes a duel. Winner takes Hyan. Then adds a warning almost as an afterthought. His own weapon could one-shot him easily. Backing up, one of Hyansu's own leaked videos had gone viral online recently. He'd been baffled, suspecting everyone from a repair technician to random strangers of leaking it. Then, walking into his own room, he found a strange armed man calmly discussing that exact video. The man mocked how bizarre the whole recording was, correcting his own form mid-practice like some kind of tutorial. Turns out the gun the stranger held was Hyansu's own, found sitting right there in his room. The man told him he was honestly the perfect candidate for something they had in mind. Hyansu, done with the cryptic talk, demands to know exactly who this guy is. The stranger reveals he works for an organization called The Network, generating content for public consumption. He's a recruiter, plain and simple, scouting people with scandal potential. The scandal Hyansu's already carrying makes him irresistibly interesting. So the man suggests casually that he just join up. Back in the present, Hyansu's now in a full standoff with Kangman. Since Kangman claims his gun kills in a single shot, Hyansu dares him to prove it. He even holds the barrel to his own head, taunting him to pull the trigger. Kangman fires. The shot sends Hyan across the room in unimaginable pain. Turns out it's just a rubber bullet, though Kangman feigns total surprise about it. Claims he ordered real ammo and got scammed. Su points out, real bullets never actually get delivered. Hyansu pulls a second gun from his jacket, firing blindly, hoping to catch Kangman off guard. Kangman dodges effortlessly, calling out his stance for being way too obvious. Another wild shot trashes the very plush toy Han originally won with Hyansu. Kangman's genuinely surprised by how powerful this toy gun actually is. He quickly realizes this is no cheap novelty. A real professional built this weapon. Hyansu keeps firing, hoping desperately to land just one clean hit. But Kangman just keeps weaving, untouched, unbothered. He notes out loud how strange it is that someone this dangerous has never actually landed in prison. He asks if some organization's been covering for him this whole time. Turns out the network is a massive underworld operation, using students across the whole country as fronts. It operates through countless tiny cells, making the truth behind it nearly impossible to trace. Difficult or not, Kangman's confident he'll find them eventually, because his real target is somewhere inside the network. Hyansu catches Kangman zoning out mid-fight and it enrages him instantly. He storms up, jams the gun under Kangman's chin, demanding to know if he's some kind of joke to him. He fires, but Kangman shoves his arm aside just in time, forcing another miss. The truth is, Kangman's here specifically because Hyansu is a confirmed network member, something his investigation uncovered days ago. Hyansu's rage boils over. Everything he's tried has failed completely. He can't accept that Kangman stole his girl and mocks him without a shred of shame. He charges after him across the room, not realizing he's just one stepping stone toward something much bigger. Convinced he's finally lined up the perfect shot, Hyansu doesn't notice Kangman already appearing beneath him, gun perfectly aimed at his skull. Kangman doesn't hesitate, unloading multiple shots straight into his face. The impact throws him clean across the room, face blazing red from the hits. Kangman calmly grabs a soda from the fridge, asking if he genuinely wants to keep going. Hyansu, badly beaten, finally drops his tough guy. He insists he's not actually the villain here. He claims he's the real victim betrayed by Hyan after she led him on and abandoned him. Kangman doesn't buy a word of it, calling it a cheap excuse to make himself feel better. Hyansu drags himself up, weapon aimed square at Kangman. Ranting about how deeply he claims to love Hyan, he suddenly pulls out a real firearm aimed at her unconscious body. If he can't have her, nobody can. That's the logic driving him now. Tears in his eyes, he empties the entire magazine. But when the smoke clears, Kangman's already shielded her using the refrigerator door as cover. He's genuinely impressed the door managed to stop every single round. Comments, half serious, on the surprising durability of Korean-made appliances. Hyansu, stunned by his speed, asks who exactly he is to jump into a hail of bullets for a girl. His mind spirals, convinced Kangman must actually be in love with her. He nearly bites through his own tongue, picturing the two of them together. Hyansu reloads furiously, but before he can fire again, a bullet shatters both his gun and his finger. He screams in agony, and Kangman calmly tells him to keep it down before the neighbors call it in, warns him to stay quiet or the next shot takes his whole hand. Kangman reveals it's his real weapon now, and it's what he's using from this point forward. Terrified, Hyansu begs not to die, turns tail, and bolts out the door. It doesn't help him at calmly. Hood pulled low over his face. Hyansu sprints through the streets like prey being hunted, shoving past every pedestrian in his path. Every time he glances back, Kangman's still right there, unhurried, relentless. He screams into the night, asking anyone listening what exactly he did to deserve this. In his head, he's still the victim, used and discarded by Hyansu. He reaches an intersection with a massive electronic billboard mounted on the wall. It's exactly the spot Kangman's been steering him toward the entire chase. Kangman pulls out his phone, casting his screen directly onto that billboard. Right as Hyansu steps into the crosswalk, his own private footage lights up above him. He freezes in horror, and the crowd starts murmuring, pointing, laughing at what they see playing above them. Panicking, he grabs at his pants, trying to explain himself to a street full of strangers. He spins to find Kangman staring straight at him, and it finally clicks who's behind all this. Right then, the crosswalk light flips from green to red, and Hyansu, blinded by rage, doesn't even notice. He charges Kangman, desperate to make him take the video down. Out of nowhere, a truck slams into him, sending him flying into the distance. The crowd freezes, unsure if he's even alive. Kangman simply turns and walks away. He admits quietly this isn't exactly how he planned it to end, but he doesn't feel much guilt either. In his eyes, Hyansu got exactly what was coming to him. Word of the accident spreads through school fast, thanks to how viral the billboard clip already went. Hyan, though, is deeply unsettled that this happened the same day he showed up at her apartment. On top of that, she's dealing with a brutal headache, and her memory of that entire night is fuzzy at best. The last clear thing she remembers is passing out right after Hyansu appeared. She has one blurry flash of Kangman, but she can't say for certain if it even happened. Turns out the recruiter had actually shown up at her place too, while she was still unconscious. He brought in a cleanup crew that scrubbed every shred of evidence from the entire room. All she's got left is fragments, which is exactly why nothing about that night makes sense to her. Later that day, Kangman's walking down a back alley, grumbling about being too young to legally buy cigarettes. And that's exactly when he runs into the same recruiter from before. The man wastes no time, handing over a network business card, praising the billboard stunt as impressive work. Kangman's not surprised the network reached out. He did just take down one of their own after all. This whole approach is exactly what his plan needed. A direct line into the network's inner circle. He'd rather have worked his way to the top slowly, but slow isn't really his style. Kangman skips straight to the point, demanding to be taken to see the boss himself. The salesman looks genuinely lost, still processing the request, until Kangman presses a gun into his chest through a plastic bag. He repeats the demand, same coldness. Flashback briefly to the dealer's house, where Kangman climbed in through the window and got greeted by garden shears. He blocks them casually with nothing but his passport. The dealer's surprised he's still in the country when he should have already flown to Korea. He blames it on pigeons taking over the runway, and asks to crash at her place before heading out. He hands the shears back, teasing that he can't sleep without a lap pillow. She brushes the joke off entirely, asking why he actually came. He reminds her that every mission comes with a fake identity. This time, though, it's his real name, real birthday, real details, everything down to the last digit checks out. He asks what her angle is here, and she calls it a consideration, not a scheme. She reminds him that once the contract's done, his real life officially begins again. Kangman admits the whole freedom incentive still doesn't add up to him. He's taken out far more powerful targets before and never once been offered anything close to freedom. So why does one ordinary Korean citizen's life come with this kind of prize? She tells him plainly this decision came from higher up. He should stop stressing over it. He's surprised she doesn't have the full picture either, and she admits she only ever passes along verified intel. She hands him what little she's got, all the details on his target that she'd been holding. The target, apparently, built some kind of highly organized point-based network, though only a handful of names are actually known. His first move, she says, should be approaching one of their agents directly. Kangman's caught off guard, learning every target so far is a high schooler. She warns him not to underestimate that fact for a second. This organization runs deep, hidden well beneath the surface. Back in the present, the salesman calmly tells Kangman there's no need to threaten him at all. Kangman fires anyway, right into his chest. It turns out to be a toy gun, and even Kangman's a bit thrown by how unbothered the guy is. The salesman jokes he's more surprised a 17-year-old is even carrying a fake gun in the first place. Kangman asks how he clocked it so fast, and the man explains the weight was off, the paint job was cheap. He rattles off every flaw before finally getting to his real question. Leaning in close, he whispers, asking what Kangman's actual goal is, and why he approached the network in the first place. Kangman flinches back, calling him out for whispering into his ear like a total creep. He deflects instantly, pointing out the man's the one who showed up outside his house first. The salesman turns to leave, telling him he'll be waiting at the address on that card tomorrow. Then right before vanishing he adds one more thing. He can smell gunpowder on him, even though he's supposedly holding a toy. What the man doesn't know is Kangman's actually got a real gun tucked into his waistband. And that instinct alone confirms it. This is no ordinary recruiter, this is a killer too. Back at his hideout, Kangman informs Batala that the network has finally made contact. The dealer explains the network's whole disguise, a student-run underworld group hiding a much bigger criminal machine. The truth, she says, is that the network is basically Korea's own version of Batala. Just like Batala hides behind a casino, the network hides behind teenagers. It's the perfect front to fool the authorities while the real business runs underground. She admits there's still a lot they simply don't know about this organization. Says quietly it might genuinely rival Batala in scale. She calls it impressive that they've already noticed him this fast, but Kangman disagrees. Even with everything they've thrown at the investigation, he's still nowhere near the actual target. He tells her plainly to close that gap, he's got to move even faster now. He's frustrated Hyansu didn't survive that accident, since he could have squeezed real intel out of him. What he doesn't know is Hyansu never actually died. He's recovering in a hospital bed right now. Lying there furious, he learns from the news that Kangman got away clean after the billboard stunt. Standing beside his bed is a strange doctor quietly laughing to himself. Hyansu snaps at him to knock it off, saying none of this is funny. The doctor asks why the hacker leaked his video, and Hyansu snaps back that the guy had a real gun. The doctor seems genuinely puzzled, noting they're not exactly in America. Hyansu's just as confused by that comment as he's. The doctor drifts over to the IV line, confirming quietly that Hyansu really has no useful information. He admits he came hoping for intel, but since there's nothing here, his role in this hospital ends now. With an unsettling smile, he starts tampering with the IV drip. He tosses a used syringe onto the cabinet, mentioning offhand that the headline will say substance abuse. Hyansu panics instantly, having no idea what drugs the man's even talking about. Before he can react, whatever's in that IV line starts tearing through his body. Seizures hit him hard, and he screams for the doctor to untie the restraints. Mid-struggle, the fake doctor finally reveals the truth. He's from the network. Blood starts pouring from every orifice in Hyansu's body, and it doesn't take long. He fights it as hard as he can, but eventually stops moving entirely. The scene is horrifying, but the fake doctor just watches, fascinated by every second of it. Meanwhile, Kangman's waiting at the meeting point the salesman gave him, but nobody's there. Moments later, the fake doctor shows up, this time flashing a much smoother, calmer smile. Kangman scolds him for showing up late, and the man apologizes, claiming he had something to handle. Kangman asks what happened to yesterday's salesman, and why he's now dealing with some random guy in a hoodie. Teases him, half-joking, about whether this is some kind of pyramid scheme flexing its best closer. The man denies it, insisting his humble look hides a whole lot more than expected. He pulls out a car key and presses the unlock button. Kangman turns to see a Rolls-Royce responding to the click. He's floored, immediately running over to admire it like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. Declares out loud that joining the network might be the best decision of his life. The man suggests they get in, and Kangman practically dives inside. He sticks his head out the window, letting the wind hit his face while listing off the car's specs excitedly. The man warns him that's dangerous, but Kangman couldn't care less. The fake doctor casually lists off every gruesome way that could end if they crash on the highway. Kangman, horrified now, retreats fully back into the car, asking if he's some kind of expert on death. The man calmly replies he probably knows a lot more about that than Kangman thinks. Kangman plays dumb, claiming he has no idea what that's supposed to mean. Then the man drops the real bombshell, calling him by his contractor codename. Kangman's whole body goes rigid, eyes widening in shock. The fake doctor finally introduces himself properly. This is Leon, the very man Kangman came here to kill. Earlier that same day, the salesman had briefed his boss, this Seon, on everything cleaned up so far. Fingerprints erased, blood scrubbed, footage wiped completely off every camera. But he flags one problem. Hyan, the witness, walked away without a single mark of external trauma. To handle it, they'd used drugs to wipe out her memory of that night. Leon finds it strange that a room riddled with bullets left her completely untouched. He speaks in clinical medical terms, saying they can't afford to just ignore how odd that is. The salesman, confused, gets teased for apparently binging medical dramas all night. Leon whips out his phone, taking a few selfies, grinning like a proper psychopath. Ignoring that entirely, the salesman mentions he's done a deep dive into Kangman. That instantly grabs Leon's attention. On paper, Kangman looked like a normal high schooler, but every record turned out fake. Digging through an international broker, the salesman uncovered a grim truth. Kangman's actually from the Philippines, and he's a professional contract killer. Leon's smile fades. He can't believe a real killer would bother playing high school for this long. The salesman shares he had the exact same reaction, which is why he kept digging. That's when he found it. Kangman belongs to Batala. Leon's expression goes blank for a second, asking if he heard that correctly. The salesman confirms it, and Leon's face instantly shifts into pure excitement. If Kangman really is from the top contract killing group in the Philippines, Leon needs to meet him personally. Back in the present, Kangman sits frozen as Leon casually introduces himself inside the car. His heart's racing because his actual target is supposedly a man named Leon. Sitting across from someone this dangerous, he shifts instinctively into a defensive stance. Leon leans closer, smirking, asking if Kangman's actually considering killing him right there in the car. Then he laughs, telling him to think it through logically. Nobody meets someone this dangerous unprepared. He points outside and Kangman turns to find the car surrounded by a full convoy of armored SUVs. Leon warns him calmly to stay still and not try anything reckless. Then he drops another bombshell, calling Kangman by his own professional codename, Spade A. He pulls back his jacket to reveal the Spade insignia stitched inside. Kangman finally manages to speak, but all that comes out is a strained, disbelieving sound. He knows exactly how precarious this position is. Elsewhere, a different Batala dealer named Heart 3 is meeting privately with Kangman's original handler. Heart 3 had been the one who built Kangman's cover identity for this exact mission. She constructed it the way the handler personally requested. But Heart 3 has doubts. She asks if the handler's absolutely sure about this decision. She reminds her that she trained herself to always keep identities flawless, no gaps at all. So why deliberately leave flaws this time? Is it a setup meant to get rid of Kangman? The handler denies it flat out. That's not what this is. She explains they needed Kangman to infiltrate the enemy organization as fast as humanly possible, and the flawed identity that was Kangman's own decision, not hers. Heart 3 finally connects the dots. Kangman deliberately baited the enemy into finding him first. Still, she wonders what happens next, because there's no way the network just lets him operate freely. She's certain they'll try to either tear him apart or make his death agonizingly slow. The handler calmly stirs sugar into her tea, asking Heart 3 if she knows the perfect way to deceive someone. Heart 3 guesses a honey trap. The handler shakes her head. The real trick, she says, is folding a single spoonful of lies into a mountain of truth. Just enough deception hidden inside something almost entirely real. Back in the Rolls-Royce, Leon reveals he already knows the real reason Kangman's here under a fake identity. He assumes Kangman's actually being hunted by Batala, calls the whole plan reckless showing up openly like this. Kangman finally speaks, admitting calmly that something happened that genuinely pissed him off. Leon leans in, curious now, asking exactly what that something was. Kangman watches how eager he is, satisfied his finally coming together perfectly. All that's left now is folding that spoonful of lies into an otherwise honest story. He plans to take real events from his life and twist them into a completely different narrative. Kangman begins his story, claiming he was handed one final mission to eliminate a congressman. He was promised retirement right after, finally free to come home and actually live in Korea for once.